Alright, welcome to another episode of the Random Status Quo Song Review. Except in this episode, we're not going to review a random song. I thought instead we'd take a look at this rather splendid new live album which has come out from the mighty Quo. Professionally recorded in 1979 and then left lying in the vaults for ever since, for goodness knows what reason. They've finally issued this live at Hammersmith 79, and it's a bit of a belter. So the CD version comes in this 7-inch packaging, which means it fits nicely with your live box set from last year. And I think On the Level 50th anniversary edition also was in similar packaging, but I didn't buy that because it was just a rehash of the 40th anniversary. So I'm just stuck with the two in my collection, but you never know, maybe next year they'll come out with something else. But obviously, unlike the live box set, which is 8 discs covering the 3 nights, this is just one night. There's only 2 discs, so there's a lot less to this. There's just a little booklet inside with some photos from the era. No linear notes, no writing in it as to why they recorded this and then did nothing with it. And the last page, for some reason, doesn't quite. It's kind of stuck down. You can't quite open it fully. It's not brilliant, but there you go. Obviously, this fills a gap in the Quo's live discography, because obviously you had live, which was recorded in '76, and then the next live release was '82 with Pete Kircher. So there'd been a bit of a change since then. I mean, I don't think they hardly recorded anything in this time period. You go to the BBC box set, it's got stuff from the live album, and then from the time period of the live album, there's nothing up until again the live at the NEC '82. So the set list had changed a little bit, and that's one of the couple of things that really interested me, of course, was the 2 tracks, Rockers Rollin' and Oh Tonight, which I had never heard live before. I think there is the odd bootleg of them floating around, but I don't tend to listen to bootlegs, as they're not very good sound quality. And also, I suppose, this is the first time you get a professionally recorded live version of Rocking All Over the World with John Coughlin, which is a bit mad to think of. There is a live gig on the Never Too Late expanded edition again, but it's just a bootleg, and it's not something you want to sit and listen to. It's just I guess a record of that moment, but it's not a very satisfying playthrough, unlike this, which is obviously professionally recorded and has now been mixed and mastered, and sounds great. So yeah, there's a few songs that this is your only, if you want to hear Coughlin playing the drums live, this is it. And Be Rocking All Over the World, Dirty Water, Hold You Back. There's also, I guess, Down Down from the classic period. Obviously, though, there's recordings of him playing Down Down on the Frantic 4 reunions in 2013-14. But they were maybe not played with quite the same gusto, as the band were slightly older then. So yes, it's a bit interesting to hear all that. Yeah, his only version of Rocking All Over the World, and he comes in a fraction late on his first hit. But other than that, I think this shows you how much, again, reinforces that Core a much better band when John Coggin's behind the drum kit. I mean, right from the start, the excitement is ramped up in Caroline. It's the first time I've ever heard it this way, is with he starts hitting the bass drum along with Rick's guitar, and then he goes on the hi-hat, and it's really the energy is just crackling out the speakers. It's real hair on the back of neck stuff. And Francis comes in slightly late, but I think that was technical errors as opposed to him not playing in time. But it doesn't detract from intro to Caroline. I think that my favourite version of Caroline prior to this had been the live at the NEC 82 version, because I'd never been desperately keen on the one on live due to the cowbell. Or I never thought that did much for the song, but this the bass drum and the cymbal work really, really I think adds to Caroline, and it's a real storming version. And then it's straight into Roll Over Lay Down. So this is kind of the revamped co-set from live, which obviously started with Junior's Wailing and then into Backwater. They've obviously, the set has evolved into what you hear in the 82 version and what the band kind of take on. And it sounds great, both of them good. And Roll Over Lay Down, it just sounds great. Rick's guitar at the start's really just tight and on the money, and that as the band are right through, and it's a fantastic addition. So with regards to the two songs I hadn't really heard live before, Rockers Rolling and Oh Tonight, I think this demonstrates that the recordings, the studio recordings were a bit lacking in the kind of oomph and welly, and they sound better here, but I do think it also shows that the material's not quite as good. Those two songs kind of do sit out slightly. It's not been quite as majestic as the rest of the set. I imagine they were great live when you were in the moment, and it's just all the energy, and you're jumping up and down at the front, and they sound great, particularly the outro, the play out and Rockers Rolling. But yeah, you can hear that they don't stand up quite as well as the rest of the material on this album. But certainly a great addition to have to the catalogue. I think vocally it all sounds really, really good as well. All three singers sound in top form, which is quite an achievement considering if you look at the list of tour dates for this tour and the fact this is one of the last nights. Usually by that time the voices can be a bit worn by the end of a tour. I suppose it helps with Co. They've got three lead singers, so the vocals are split, so it's not like with most bands, one person's singing all night. So I guess they don't abuse their voices quite as much in the fact they're not having to do as much work, but they are all sounding great. And the harmonies are all sounding really good, and particularly in the Dirty Water, the aforementioned Oh What a Night, where they replicate the female backing singers at the end. Obviously, the centerpiece of a co-show back in the day was 4,500 Times, and it's here. It's a pretty good rendition. I've seen a lot of people saying it's one of their best. I'm not fully bedded in with it yet. Francis is doing a lot of new things and different bits, which is good to hear, but I'm not quite sure I'm enjoying them as much as the other versions that I'm more used to. Maybe it'll just take a little bit of time. I also think the rhythm guitars are well mixed. The levels are good, so you can listen to both. But and then when Rossi obviously does a solo, he's obviously boosted a bit, which is fine in songs. But on 4,500 Times, he's obviously pretty much boosted sound for the whole instrumental section. So that I find that can get a bit uneven if you listen to it in the headphones. He's just always the main thing coming out. I find that can be a little bit off-putting particularly when I'm listening to headphones. Is Rossi's guitar is kind of overpowering everything right the way through 4,500 Times, but that's a minor quibble. I think the mix on this is really good. The energy is just off the charts. They're just absolutely fantastic. Makes me realise what I missed. I loved the kind of my first seeing Co was the Jeff Ritchie era, which I loved, and they had lots of energy then. And then I was a little bit taken back with the reunions. I didn't think they were going to be the best Co I'd ever heard, but I guess the original rhythm section just had the correct feel, and they just played the songs right. So I just thought, oh, that's the ultimate quote. But then you listen to that and you think, no, actually, back in the day, I'm sure it would have been quite amazing to see the energy and the prowess of the band. That's sounding absolutely fantastic. Andy Bown is on there, but he's quite low in the mix, and so it's not obtrusive in any way as some of the moments in the NEC 82 and Milton Keynes 84. Some of the sounds he makes you're a bit like, but this one you can't really hear him. And to be honest, if he wasn't there, I don't think you'd miss him. Maybe for the intro to Rocking All Over the World, but otherwise, I don't think in that set he's really required. But yes, I highly recommend this if you haven't managed to pick up a copy. I believe they're not really able to order them at the moment because they've actually sold quite well, or maybe it's not that they sold really well, more that they just didn't make enough copies to satisfy the demand. But yes, I highly recommend Live at Hammersmith 79 by Status Quo. And I think that'll do for another episode of this random Status Quo song review. And I should hopefully be back next week just talking about the one song. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. Afterwards,